Hello everyone, welcome to my new video. In this tutorial, I'll show you step by step how to create the character animation you saw at the beginning of the video using the Duik Angel plugin. If you're not familiar with Duik Angel or don't know how to download and install it, I've explained everything in detail in my previous video. You can watch that first and set it up easily. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And now, if you're ready, let's get started. Now, double-click inside the project panel and select your Illustrator file. In the Import window, set the Import Kind option to Composition. Then, change Footage Dimensions to Layer Size. Here's why we do this. Choosing Composition allows all Illustrator layers to be imported separately into After Effects, so we can animate each layer individually. Setting it to Layer Size ensures that each layer keeps its original dimensions instead of being placed inside a large composition box. This makes rigging, anchor point adjustments, and animation much cleaner and more precise. Now, double-click on the composition to open it. As you can see, all of our layers are organized here. Let's start by adding some movement to the scene, beginning with the cloud layers. Select all the cloud layers and press P on your keyboard to reveal the position properties. Then, add a keyframe at the beginning for all selected layers. Move to the end of the composition and add another set of keyframes. Now, randomly adjust the position values of the clouds to create natural movement. This will give the scene a soft and dynamic cloud animation. Great. Now let's add a rotation animation to the helicopter blades. To make the blade rotate properly and realistically around its own axis, first we need to enable the blade layer as a 3D layer. With the layer selected, press R on your keyboard to reveal the rotation properties. This will allow us to create a smooth and controlled spinning animation around its own axis. Now, instead of using keyframes, we'll create the spinning animation using an expression. Hold down the Alt key and click on the stopwatch icon next to Y rotation. In the expression field that appears, type the following code: time times 1,800. This expression links the rotation value to time, creating a continuous spinning motion. As a result, the blade rotates automatically without using any keyframes. This method is cleaner, more flexible, and much easier to adjust if needed. Now, let's enhance the realism of the blade animation. Enable motion blur on the blade layer, and make sure the global motion blur switch at the top of the timeline is turned on as well. This will create natural motion blur as the blade spins, making the rotation look smoother and much more realistic. Now, let's apply the same spinning animation to the rear blade of the helicopter. The only difference here is that we don't need to enable this layer as a 3D layer. Other than that, the process is exactly the same. Select the layer, press R to reveal the rotation property, hold Alt and click on the stopwatch. Then enter the same expression. This way, the rear blade will also have a smooth and continuous spinning animation, just like the front blade. Great! Now, let's add a wind-like waving effect to the grass layers in the scene. First, select the layer you want to animate. Then, in the Effects and Presets panel, find the Wave Warp effect and apply it to the layer. In the Effect settings, set Pinning to all edges. This ensures the effect is applied smoothly across the entire layer without stretching the edges, making the grass sway naturally in the wind. Now select the Wave Warp effect you applied and copy it from the Edit menu. Then go to the Grass 2 layer and paste the effect. Since this layer is closer to the helicopter, we need to increase the wave speed slightly. Set wave speed to 3. Next, paste the copied effect onto Grass 3 and Grass 4 layers as well, and set wave speed to 3 on both layers. This way, all the grass layers in the scene will sway naturally and consistently with the wind. Great! Now let's animate the characters in our scene. First, we need to properly adjust the anchor point positions of the character's head and body layers. This step is very important because the anchor point determines how the layer rotates and moves during animation. If it's not positioned correctly, the movement can look unnatural or unbalanced. So before we start animating, make sure the anchor points are placed accurately for clean and realistic motion. Now, select the left-hand layer. From the toolbar, choose the Puppet tool and create 3 pinpoints on the hand. Then, open the layer settings, go to the Mesh section, and expand the Deform options. Here, you'll see the 3 points we created. By selecting them one by one, we can start preparing the hand for a more flexible and natural animation. Now go to the top menu and open the Window panel. Scroll down to the bottom of the list, find Duik Ángela, and click on it to open the plugin panel. We'll use this panel to rig and control the character much more efficiently and professionally. Now, in the Duik Ángela interface, click on the chain icon. Make sure the 3 pins we created earlier are selected, then choose Add Pins. If a warning window appears, click Ignore and wait for the pins to be generated. This process connects the Puppet pins to the Duik system, allowing us to create a more controlled and professional rig setup. Now we can see 3 control pins in our workspace. Let's connect them step by step. First, select pin 3 and parent it to pin 2. Then select pin 2 and parent it to pin 1. Finally, select pin 1 and parent it to the body layer. This hierarchical setup ensures that the hand movement follows the body naturally, giving us smoother and more realistic animation control. Alright, now select all the pin layers and click on Auto Rig. If a warning message appears, click Ignore again and wait for the new control pin to be created. Once the process is complete, we'll be able to move the arm easily using a single controller, giving us much more efficient and professional animation control. Now, let's clean up our workspace to keep it organized. Select these 4 layers and enable the Shy switch, the small ghost icon next to the layers. Then activate the global Shy button at the top of the timeline to hide them. This will hide the control layers from the timeline while they continue functioning normally, giving us a cleaner and more organized workspace. Great! Now, select the generated pin control layer and rename it to Left Hand. Next, select the other arm layer and make sure only this arm is active. Choose the Puppet tool again and place 3 pins on the upper, middle, and lower parts of the arm. Then, open the layer settings, expand Mesh, and go into the Deform section. Select the 3 pins one by one and click Add Pins. If a warning window appears, click Ignore to continue. This completes the rig setup for the second arm as well. Now let's create the hierarchy connections. First, select pin 3 and parent it to pin 2. Then select pin 2 and parent it to pin 1. Finally, select pin 1 and parent it to the body layer. Once the connections are set, select all the pin layers and click Auto Rig. If a warning message appears, click Ignore again and wait for the new control pin to be generated. After the process is complete, we'll be able to animate the second arm easily using a single controller. Now, select the control layers again and hide them to keep our workspace clean. Then select the newly created pin control layer and rename it to Right Hand. Finally, select the head layer and parent it to the body layer. This ensures that the head follows the body naturally, creating a more cohesive and realistic animation. Now, with the body layer selected, press P on your keyboard to reveal the position property. Add a keyframe at the first frame. Then move 5 frames forward and add another keyframe. Repeat this step once more to create 3 position keyframes at short intervals. Now go to the second keyframe, hold down the Shift key, and press the down arrow key to move the body slightly downward. Now select all the keyframes and apply Easy Ease. This will smooth out the motion and make the CPR animation feel more natural. At the moment, the animation only plays once and then stops, but we want it to repeat continuously at regular intervals. To do that, hold down the Alt key on your keyboard and click on the Position stopwatch. Then type Loop Out in the expression field. This makes the animation loop infinitely. However, now it continues without stopping throughout the entire composition. To control this, move a few frames forward in the timeline to the point where you want the animation to stop and add 1 more keyframe. By doing this, we limit the loop to a specific section and solve the issue. Now select the head layer and press R to reveal the rotation property. At the first frame, add a keyframe. Next, following the same timing as the position keyframes, create 2 rotation keyframes within those intervals. Go to the second keyframe and change the rotation value to 3 degrees. Then select all the rotation keyframes and apply Easy Ease to make the movement smoother and more natural. Now move to the last position keyframe we created and add a matching rotation keyframe at that point. Finally, apply the loop out expression to the rotation property. This way, the character's head will move rhythmically in sync with the body animation. Great! Everything is going well so far. Now let's create the pressing animation on the stomach of the character lying on the ground. First, select the character layer. Then, choose the puppet tool from the toolbar. Add 1 pin to the upper part of the character. Then, place a few additional pins around the lower area at different points to better control the deformation. These pins will allow us to create a more flexible and realistic compression effect on the stomach area. Now open the Mesh settings and go to the Deform section. Find Puppet Pin 1 and expand it. Within the same timing interval we used before, add 2 keyframes. Then move to the second keyframe, hold down the Shift key, and drag the pin downward. This creates a compression effect on the stomach area, making the animation look more realistic. To synchronize this animation with the arm movement, move to the last keyframe we created for the position property. At that point, add a new keyframe for Puppet Pin 1. Then select all the pin keyframes and apply Easy Ease. This will ensure the stomach compression animation moves smoothly and stays perfectly in sync with the arm motion. Now let's repeat the same step as before and make this animation loop. Hold down the Alt key on your keyboard and click on the Puppet Pin stopwatch. Then, from the expression presets in the Properties section, select Loop Out. This will make the compression animation repeat continuously within the defined timing, staying in sync with the arm movement. Now I'll move a bit faster through this part because I'll use the same keyframe timing we created earlier to add rotation animation to the character's arm and head. This ensures that when pressure is applied to the stomach, the arm and head move in sync with the rest of the animation. Finally, I parent the mouth layer to the head layer using the parent link. Then I open the scale property of the mouth and apply the same keyframe timing we used before. After selecting all the keyframes, I apply Easy Ease and then use the Loop Out expression to make the animation repeat continuously. This way, the entire character animation works together smoothly and rhythmically. I won't go through the animation in detail again for the second character, since the process is exactly the same. I'm applying the same keyframe timing, along with the same rotation and position settings we created earlier. The logic and values remain consistent. We're simply repeating the setup on a different character. If you need, you can pause the video and review the previous steps to follow along. To keep the video from becoming unnecessarily long, I'll speed through this part. Now, let's add more realism to the animation. Select all the layers and enable Motion Blur. Also, make sure the Global Motion Blur switch at the top of the timeline is turned on. This will make the movements look smoother, more natural, and more cinematic. And that's it! Our animation is complete! In this video, I demonstrated how to create character animation using the Duik Ángela plugin. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next tutorial video. Until then, take care!